How did the 30-second clip of Central Cee claiming he influenced the tech fleece trend cause so much chaos?
I'm humble in it, but at the same time, I like to think that man put a lot of man onto the Nike Tech thing.
Tech fleeces are a staple in the UK for as long as I can remember, but this clip and the reactions to it got me thinking, where did the tech fleece trend even start in the UK? How does that compare to how it's worn in America? And did Central Cee start any of it? Did he even start it in the UK? Let's talk about it.
See the influence even in like America and that now, that people be rocking the text like it's like they're us.
Welcome back to the CEE TV Podcast, where I talk about everything related to music, pop culture and fashion. I'm not just going to be talking about Central Cee's claim that he put Americans onto the Nike Tech trend. I'm also going to talk about how they became a trend from their launch in 2013 to now, but also how tracksuits in general became a cultural staple in the UK streetwear scene and why they carry so much significance politically and in fashion. I know I'm really late to talk about this, but it's still an interesting conversation, especially when you dive deep into the evolution of tracksuits and how 80s casuals culture and fashion and grime, drill and UK rap contributed to the tech fleece trend that we see today. And then lastly, understanding Central Cee's influence amongst all of this. So after editing this video and I went home and watched the footage, I decided I wanted to explain a little bit more about who Central Cee is and his connection to streetwear and tech fleeces. So if you don't know already, Central Cee is a UK rapper. He blew up around 2020 when he dropped his song Day in the Life. Since then, he's had multiple projects that have been really successful, like Wild West, 23 and Can't Rush Greatness, which topped the charts in the UK and went top 10 in America, being like the first British rapper to do that. He's also had a number of viral moments due to the choice of outfits in strange places, like wearing a tracksuit on the red carpet at the British Fashion Awards.
As I've gone onto the carpet to take this picture, I see someone looking at me from a distance. They're like, get him off, pointing at the security, like, get him off. I'm lucky I didn't get slide tackled. That would have went viral. They didn't know who I was.
Or wearing a tracksuit to his friend's wedding. But it's not really that strange when you consider the culture around tracksuits in general in the UK. He's also known for wearing tech fleeces a lot, especially in Instagram pictures, music videos. It's sort of become his unofficial uniform. So it's no surprise that he ended up having a Nike Tech collab with his clothing brand Cineworld. But despite this, people still have a lot of doubts about his influence on the trend, which to be fair did happen not just because of him, but a variety of factors. I also think people's doubts relate to how they view his success and his career in general. He's often put in the category of those industry plant rappers, people who they feel like blew up out of nowhere and had overnight success. And that's definitely not true. Like, he was making music before he released Day in the Life, but he did get popular around the time a lot of rappers were having a viral moment on TikTok and had a career as a result of that. He was just a product of that phenomenon. Oh my God. So in general, I think people are quite hesitant to give him credit for any influence he's had on culture because they don't really respect his come up, or at least their perception of his come up. And when it comes to the US, any UK rapper saying that they influenced anything in hip hop is always going to be met with backlash, whether it's true or not. Okay guys, back to the video. All right, before we dive into everything else, let's talk about how the tech fleece came out in the first place. Introduced in 2007 as the Nike Tech Pack, the concept was brought to life by two designers at Nike HQ, Jarrett Reynolds and Michael Leon.
We had this idea of this hybrid collection using technical features mixed with lifestyle silhouettes, and the name was Tech Pack. It was just a working title. We still haven't come up with a better name, so...
They'd been working on the concept since 2005, but it wasn't until 2007 that we saw the first launch of the Tech Pack. According to the designers, it was still very much a work in progress at the time, and in 2005 when they joined Nike, this was one of those moments in sportswear which wasn't just about dropping a cool design, but focusing on creating something new. They introduced the no-sew technology, using ultrasonic waves to bond the fabric together without the need for stitching. The initial drop included a track jacket, a fleece crew, a hoodie, and the pocket tee, all with new tech updates. Nike officially launched the Tech Fleece collection in fall-winter 2013, taking that 2007 Tech Pack to a whole new level, this time focusing much more on the fleece material. They created a layering system that interpolated the older version of the polo fleece developed by Malden Mills and Patagonia in 1979. Nike fused 2 layers of smooth cotton jersey with a synthetic foam spacer designed to trap body heat without the added extra weight. The result was a lightweight fleece with thermal insulation but had a smooth exterior, giving it more of a lifestyle vibe. It was perfect for athletes who are warming up, but also something that could be worn outside of the gym too. So how did the Tech Fleece go from being a niche product focusing on athletes to being a full-blown trend in the US? Well, it's sort of a mix of things, and I'm going to break it all down. Firstly, Nike's global marketing strategy. Then I'm going to talk about the influence of Nike basketball in the 2010s, and then hip-hop culture's embrace of the Tech Fleece. The Tech Fleece material was built with the lifestyle of athletes in mind, and that was also communicated in how Nike marketed it. They rounded up some of the biggest athletes at the time from all over the globe for their first ever Tech Fleece campaign, featuring Serena Williams, Neymar Jr., Theo Walcott and more. In 2015, they partnered with Cristiano Ronaldo and Neymar to launch their full winter campaign. And then in the following year, they pulled in Olympic stars like Rafael Nadal, Kevin Durant, and Dina Asher-Smith. Their approach was to bring together leading superstar athletes from sports like tennis and football to basketball. And that brings me on to the next part, Nike basketball's influence in the 2010s. Nike's connection to basketball goes all the way back to the company's early days, but it became especially significant when they signed Michael Jordan in 1984, before he became the icon which we know of him today. They even made a whole movie about this. I went to watch it, it's really good. In fact, Nike's former CEO is quoted saying, "Running is the heart of Nike and basketball is the soul." So that deep-rooted connection to basketball was also reflected in their Tech Fleece campaigns. In 2016, Nike linked up with LeBron James to introduce the Spring Tech Knit collection. Now, I'm not a basketball expert, but even I know LeBron's influence on the court and off the court, and his presence in culture helped elevate the visibility of Tech Fleeces. And it wasn't just LeBron, so many major NBA players have been seen wearing Tech Fleeces. The comfort and the functionality of the design made it perfect for running errands, traveling to games, or warming up, so you'd often see NBA players wearing it in this way.
In America, NBA players were some of the first to embrace Tech Fleece, often seen rocking full sets pre-game. This aligned perfectly with Nike basketball's dominance in the mid-2010s, when signature sneakers from LeBron, Kyrie, and KD were at their peak. The mix of on-court performance and off-court style made Tech Fleece a natural extension of the era's fashion.
And this connection to NBA players and Tech Fleeces played a major role in solidifying the tracksuit as a trend in the States. I don't need to tell you how much influence basketball has on fashion trends.
Just look at the popularity of basketball jerseys, Jordans, even social media pages that like to talk about players' off-court fits.
Okay, so hip-hop culture. Fashion has always been a major part of self-expression within hip-hop. Take it back to 1986 when Run DMC released My Adidas, turning the superstar sneaker and the 3 stripes into an iconic part of streetwear heritage. So by the time Tech Fleece dropped, years later in 2013, the idea of rappers wearing tracksuits as a fashion statement was not new. After NBA players kicked off the hype,
oh my goodness, do you see this man's style? Head to toe in Nike Tech Fleece?
It wasn't long before we saw rappers wearing it like Lil Durk, 21 Savage, NBA Youngboy, and then Drake eventually having his own Tech Fleece and Knock to collab. But the Tech Fleece trend took on a whole new life in New York, especially with the rise of drill. Rappers were wearing them in their freestyle videos, name-dropping them in lyrics, and making that a huge part of their aesthetic. Nike leaned into that even more by doing pop-up shops and taking over a suit store, letting people customize their own Tech Fleeces. It wasn't just a one-off thing, because they just did another one a few months ago.
Where's my Tech Fleece? I got you. Let's get you right. Hello.
And that says so much about how the Tech Fleeces have become a staple in the community over there. Just like in London, the cold, rainy weather in New York makes Tech Fleeces the perfect option to wear day to day. It's lightweight, warm, and sleek enough to look cool without being super bulky. So that's how Tech Fleeces blew up in certain communities in the States, firstly through NBA culture, and then with rappers wearing it, and then through the streets of New York, where it evolved into its own thing.
So I like a nigga in a Nike Tech. You said you like a guy in Nike Tech?
But where does the UK fit into all of this? I've already touched on some of the similarities between New York and London, particularly the weather, and then the practicality of the tracksuit for everyday life. But some people have the idea that it's the UK copying the US when it comes to tracksuits. And then there's this notion that UK rappers saw what was going on over there and then got inspired by that here.
All right, so now I'm kind of seeing why the UK gets mad at us. Y'all are just delusional and you really think y'all made this up. But we made it cool. We made y'all want to wear it. When your favorite rappers were rapping over the beats of Chicago or New York City beats, they were also copying the clothes those rappers were wearing.
Honestly, I don't even think you should take online discourse too seriously. In real life, people approach conversations with a lot more nuance. And it's also disingenuous to assume that people over here weren't influenced by the US at all, especially when, in the post-globalized world, everyone gets influences from everywhere and no idea is original. But at the same time, the UK has its own history when it comes to tracksuits and streetwear, and that goes way beyond the tech fleece. To understand how the tech fleece became a UK staple, we need to talk about the rise of casuals culture and its deep connection to football. But before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to me. Your girl's trying to make it to 10k subscribers by the end of the year, and I'm trying to be more consistent, and I've got a whole load of videos coming soon, so you don't want to miss it. All right, cool. So in the 70s and the 80s, the tracksuit was booming globally. Jogging had taken off among high and middle income communities.
Veronica and I are trying this new fad called jogging. I believe it's jogging or yogging. It might be a soft J.
And pop culture was having its own tracksuit moment, like Bruce Lee wearing the bright red tracksuit in Longstreet. And then, of course, hip-hop was also taking streetwear mainstream. Tracksuits weren't just for sports anymore. They were embedded in culture. But in the UK, there weren't that many tracksuit-defining moments, at least until this one. In 1977, Bob Marley was photographed playing football in Battersea Park and wearing what would now become an iconic look. A slim-fitted navy trackie tucked into socks, layered with a matching hoodie over a striped jumper. At the time he was in London, after having survived an assassination attack on his life in Jamaica, so now he was in London recording his album Exodus, which is also probably one of his most legendary albums. The fit became iconic because it was so effortlessly stylish, but also easily replicated. Many publications have called it his most memorable look. British Jamaican designer Wells Bonner has drawn inspiration from this look and his overall 70s tracksuit style, and Tommy Hilfiger even reimagined the same look in their SS16 collection. But what makes this moment truly resonate is its direct link to football. By the 80s, the tracksuit had taken a whole new meaning, becoming a radical symbol of the working class, particularly among young white men. As the gap between the working and the upper class widens during the Thatcher era, football violence was on the rise. Fans from clubs like Chelsea, Millwall, Liverpool, and West Ham gained a reputation for brawling with rivals at games. Hooliganism got so bad that it spilled over into neighbouring European countries, giving British football the title as the English disease. With authorities cracking down, fans needed a way to blend it in. Instead of wearing team colours and scarves, they decided to wear luxury Italian brands. By dressing smarter and more casual, they could move undetected from authorities, giving birth to what we now know as the casual subculture. Club supporters flaunted high-end tracksuits from brands like Elise, Fila, and Sergio Tacchini. Wearing the latest designer tracksuits wasn't just about fashion trends, but also a status symbol and a way to show that your club was basically the best. To outsiders, though, the tracksuit came to represent something else: violence and working class rebellion. If you want to learn more about casuals culture, definitely check out movies like Away Days, Football Factory, and The Firm. This stigma lasted way into the early 2000s, fueled by shows like Little Britain,
new, because what happened was, right, it was this thing happened, what you do, you know nothing about,
which caricatured white working class women and men in tracksuits. Historian Dr. Turney puts it best. She said that she sees the tracksuit as a garment of the resting competitor, someone who's always waiting in the wings, ready to perform at any moment. This is also why tracksuits are scapegoated so much. They're associated with people hanging around and waiting, which imbues them with a sense of possibility. This story of marginalization connects 80s casuals culture to genres like grime and later drill. This anti-establishment, rebellious energy embedded in these movements is reflected in streetwear trends that continue to shape British fashion today. A lot of our UK rap subgenres were birthed out of circumstances of marginalization, as well as the fashion trends that came with it. But for this chapter, I'm focusing on how this led tracksuits to become an iconic symbol in two very political genres, grime and UK drill. Going back to the early 2000s, the garage scene was starting to phase out, leading to a new beginning, the rise of grime. And from a fashion point of view, grime was the more authentic version of the polished and happier aesthetic of garage. When you think of fashion in garage, you think of designer labels like Moschino and Iceberg that weren't exactly accessible to the younger kids growing up on estates. And on top of that, the scene itself was considered to be quite exclusive and led by gatekeepers, with a lot of garage clubs enforcing a strict no hats, no trainers policy, shutting out the majority of young people at that time who didn't fit into this aesthetic or couldn't afford clothes that a lot of the people were wearing in the garage clubs. So the style that garage tried to shut out not only reflected the day-to-day authentic experience living in London, but also became the foundation of fashion trends in grime. Tracksuits, Air Max 95s, new era fitted hat, and the one remainder from the garage era, the Avirex jacket, were key components of grime fashion. One of Grime's most celebrated albums, Dizzy Rascal's Boy in the Corner, shows him decked out in an all-black night trackie, sitting against the hazard yellow coloured panels. Stormzy's breakout moment came when he recorded a video for his freestyle Shut Up in the red Adidas tracksuit, which kickstarted a long-standing relationship with the brand. But Skepta affirmed Grime's identity in the fashion space, making tracksuits a political and iconic statement through his tracksuit mafia movement, his bars, and his ventures outside of music, eventually breaking down barriers in high fashion. His entire career embodies the shift from being an outsider, breaking down fashion's barriers, to becoming a key player in the fashion industry. From wearing tracksuits as an everyday thing in freestyle videos, to walking the runway during Nazir Mazar's SS15 show, and then eventually debuting his own line at London Fashion Week. Tracksuits were already the unofficial uniform and a key emblem in grime, but Skepta solidified it further. In 2014, he accepted his MOBO award while wearing a black hoodie and shell track pants, and then a year later on stage at the Brits with Kanye, surrounded by a crew all wearing black trackies. A genre once shut out by the mainstream was now being embraced and awarded on national TV while still rocking the same tracksuits that symbolized exclusion. There is something to be said about whether UK rap is truly accepted in the mainstream, especially in award shows. This rebellious spirit is also what links grime so closely to UK drill. Just like how grime started, drill, particularly early UK drill, when it's still in its authentic state, mirrored what was going on in the street through song lyrics and the aesthetics of the video. Early drill videos show rappers like 6'7" wearing what they'd usually wear day to day. And just like casuals culture, UK drill rappers had their own run-ins with the police, and that would definitely influence what they'd wear in music videos. Being hidden, concealing identity, and moving low-key essentially influenced the fashion trends in drill. Many of the main UK drill rappers had their faces covered until eventually deciding to take off their masks later on in their career. But that early UK drill era was definitely defined by privacy and covering your face, hiding your identity. And wearing tracksuits just echoed this trend. The previous chapters explore the connection between tracksuits and UK culture more broadly, but how did Tech Fleeces become a staple in the UK?
For us being from London and growing up from where we are, I think we can all agree that it's a staple of London culture growing up.
100%.
Even if you didn't have a tech fleece, you knew what it was like. You knew how it felt. You saw the colorways.
When Nike launched their line with marketing campaigns that focused on soccer legends like Ronaldo, Theo Walcott, and Neymar, it got the buzz they intended in European markets. One thing that's important to mention, which probably had the most impact on the trend taking off at first, is Nike officially licensing their tech design to create a tracksuit for the England team, which the players would wear to and from games and when warming up. And they did the same thing with other football clubs in England and Europe like Barcelona, Spurs, and Liverpool. It's a similar pipeline pipeline to the States with NBA players wearing it, and then it catching on in other areas later on. Given how much influence football has on UK streetwear, it's not hard to assume that this is what kickstarted the Nike Tech trend. Plus, the slim fit style mirrored the type of tracksuits that was trendy over here. Even LeBron speaks about this in the Hypebeast interview back in 2016, describing the Tech Fleece as a very European fit. There's also the practicality of the Tech Fleece. A similar story to our American counterparts in New York, the weather here is cold and rainy, and the city lifestyle requires comfort and ease, all of which the Tech Fleece is built for, without compromising style. I will say, I don't know the specific point when Tech Fleeces became a staple in the UK. It just sort of happened. The popularity of drill from 2016 onwards, and then UK rappers wearing Tech Fleeces in their videos and referencing it in lyrics, made it a trend in the London scene. Tech Fleeces have even had some recent pop culture moments in the UK too, like in Top Boy. Stefan, who's Jamie's younger brother on the show, displays his character development through the gradual change in his dress sense. The show's costume designer describes the decision process behind this. She says, "You never actually see the money change hands, but you can tell the London Fields gang is starting to groom him. He gets a pair of Air Force Ones, then a Tech Fleece. We kind of made a point of his progression from the clothes he wore as a schoolboy to trying to fit into the lexicon of the gang. A Tech Fleece typically retails for around £200, with the top and the bottom sold separately. And this is definitely not affordable for the average school kid from lower income backgrounds."
Because of the price, it was always for the guys that had money.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a certain like age. If you had a Tech Fleece, you were either rich or you were outside.
Yeah, you're the guys though.
You were one of them.
You're the guys,
bro. Like,
or you're like what we were saying, like you're an athlete, like you're deeply involved in the scene already.
Like we all had guys who went to our school that were sponsored by Nike,
or like played football for like a club, and they had Nike. They
had a Tech Fleece. It was like, you're the guy.
So wearing a Tech Fleece represents somewhat of a status symbol from the point of view of a young kid. You're either making money somehow or you're an athlete sponsored by Nike. And with the culture often being set by the young gen, the hype and what it represents made it cool. Cool enough to be a fashion statement, but understated enough to be worn in casual scenarios. Okay, let's go back to the original question of this video. Did Central Cee influence others to wear Tech Fleeces like he said? I would say he took it to a different level, following the only other rapper to have a Tech Fleece collab, Drake. He's done things differently, rocking unique colorways for his music videos and doing things like matching it to his cars, making it more of an aesthetic and a trend. Although tracksuits have been a part of our culture before people knew who Central was, he's made his brand heavily associated with specifically Tech Fleeces, wearing it consistently. Other rappers like Digga or AJ Tracey also have notable moments wearing Tech Fleeces. Also, a lot of people take inspiration from footballers like Cole Palmer and Messi and so many others, but I would say that Central has been the most consistent with it, hence why he's got his own collab. That being said, I don't know if he influenced Americans. As we spoke about earlier in this video, Tech Fleeces took on its own life over there. Maybe his international impact could be seen more in other neighboring European countries, where he also has a massive fan base. With the popularity of UK drill and Central's music in Europe, it's possible that rappers and fans over there became tapped into the Tech Fleece trend because of Central, but I can't say for certain. Whether he started the hype or not, he's become the face of it. So his initial statement isn't as wild as the backlash it brought on. I want to know your thoughts. Which UK rapper would you say has the most influence on UK streetwear? Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.